how to create actually urgency, right? And so like that's what a lot of people ask me always. Well, how do you make people wire money? How do you make them hurry up? And so if you look at this chart, a year old almost, but it's still super relevant. And this line here, this is the venture capital raise. And as you can see, in end of 2022, it was like all-time high. I mean, before that, it was like even lower. So this is all-time high. And to be honest, 2023 data, if we would to have 2023 data, would be even higher because a lot of funds didn't deploy capital. And so they sit on a lot of capital. And this is venture capital. Apart from that, and for most of you who are early stage here, so pre-seed and seed, you are also super relevant for family offices, angels, syndicates, etc. And that's not even on this chart. So if you think about 2020, 2021, how many secondaries there were, how many exits were there, how many IPOs there were, right? All these founders who exited the secondaries have to deploy money somewhere, right? They love to give money back to the ecosystem. They love to be angel investors. They want to meet founders. So there is so much capital out there that ultimately you need to think about your business as the actual scarce asset rather than vice versa, right? Like the reason people don't have momentum and let's say urgency in the process is because they treat investors almost like with too much respect. And like I think you should of course treat investors with respect, but equally you have to realize there are a lot of them out there and you should position your story as something special. The second point is treat fundraising, or like getting investors, or like more important than your marriage, right? Like it's easier to divorce than getting rid of investors. There's a saying. And ultimately, if you think about fundraising, similar to recruitment, where in recruitment, you're not going to hire anybody. You're going to really vet and select and ask for references. And you have to think about it. And when you fundraise, think about it in the same way. You really want to only get people on your cap table if you really want to have them, rather than just because of the money and because you kind of like, you think you can't raise. And finally, the opportunity cost is real, right? So every hour spent on fundraising is an hour gone from working on your actual business. And that's where you really also want to do a more sprint rather than a marathon. To summarize, right, creating urgency, establishing genuine competition. So you really want to work backwards. How many investor types do you want to have on your cap table? How many slots do you give to each investor persona on your cap table? And then start basically opening up investor persona slots once you fill up the investor persona you go after initially. Build your list in advance, so you don't want to keep building out your list, like you want to kind of do it once and then really sprint. And yeah, speak to angels first.